Welcome to The Prisoner's Dilemma, a show where we watched and talked about the 1960s TV show The Prisoner. I'm Brendan, and with me is my regular co-host, Matthew.
Hi, it's me. I'm regular.
What's the most regular thing about you?
The most regular thing about me? What's the most median thing about me? I have dark hair, I guess. That's pretty median.
Sure. Yeah, that's regular. That's regular.
Yeah.
Normal. You're normal, Matthew.
I'm very normal. I'm normal, Matthew.
Yeah.
You're normal, Brendan. What's the most normal thing about you?
No, I'm done. My normal era has ended.
Oh.
Yeah.
What's the new one?
I'm in my Mordheim era now. I only care about plastic men and dead cities.
Okay, Mordheim Brendan. Sounds great.
No, it's Brendan Mordheim now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Apologies.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Culturally, it has to be the other way around.
Matthew, we watched all of The Prisoner.
We did. No one's ever done it before.
No, and no one ever will. Thank you so much for going on this journey with me.
Yeah, thank you. Of course.
I was thinking, I was thinking about why we did the project to begin with, and how it was because there was a bad Prisoner podcast, and we thought we could surely do better than that.
And we did.
And we did. This is by no means like, if this is your first episode.
What a choice.
What a choice. That's weird. You download them, go from oldest to newest, not the other way around. We're going to spoil things here. But if you've listened to the past episodes, I hope that one of the things that we've instilled in you is that The Prisoner is a work that encourages multiple readings, that encourages multiple interpretations. And we would be doing you a disservice by saying, by making any claims to being, and we're the definitive voice on The Prisoner. We're the ones telling you what's what. It's like we've given you our reading, and we've given you a reading through a very specific lens. Mm-hmm. We have heard from many of you who have been watching The Prisoner for far longer than I have, about what you think of The Prisoner, what you think it all means. And let me tell you, that's great. I love that.
Totally.
That said, we have watched it, and we've seen it before, and we've just finished another watch through. And Matthew, I wanted to ask you if you had any new feelings or new takeaways based on this watch through.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, we clearly divided up our roles in terms of the podcast, right? I did a bunch of looking into like cast stuff and things like that, which I'd never done before.
Sure.
So even being aware of like, oh, this same person wrote all these episodes, or like, oh, Don Chaffee, that's the guy I know who directed all the Prisoner episodes, I think are really cool.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Like that's a newfound, respect for the product and like understanding of how it was made. I would also say that like hearing from you and from our audience, right, like differing opinions on episodes, right, like the fact that Do Not Forsake Me, Oh My Darling, you liked on a first watch was mind-boggling to me. And so like being able to like think from other perspectives and appreciate the show in new ways, I would say, like overall, that was my takeaway. How about from you?
I definitely had a greater appreciation, I think, because of the supplemental work that we had done, watching Danger Man, watching other McGowan projects, getting a better sense of like what the world that he was building this show in was like, totally. With feeling of the 60s and the feeling of television in the world that he was creating, it gave me a much better appreciation for something that I think, particularly at a first time view, you can just sort of chalk up to like, oh, it's just old, you know, it's just there's peculiar things here and there. Whereas I think really it's not only in conversation with a lot of stuff that and being made, it's in conversation with a lot of stuff and it's being made with very specific artistic choices. And frankly, simply by dint of overwork and incredible production design, still looks and feels a lot better than stuff that was made 10 or 20 years later. You know what I mean?
Easily. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would happily take the aesthetics of The Prisoner over like any CW show.
What about
name one? Could you name one? Could Brennan name one CW show?
Green Arrow?
I have watched like one episode of that, primarily because a roommate of mine really liked it. It was mostly the episodes where the guy would do pull-ups shirtless, which I guess is probably every episode.
That's probably every episode. Like, archery is tough.
Yeah, you got to do pull-ups shirtless. It's the only way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, they're all filmed in Vancouver. I've been there, so, you know, I know what it looks like.
So you really don't need it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Why would I watch Green Arrow? I've been to Vancouver.
What about Veronica Mars?
I've never watched Veronica Mars, believe it or not.
Veronica Mars. That's the Kristen Bell one, right?
Probably.
I don't even know what Veronica Mars is about.
I know that people really liked it.
Okay. Veronica Mars is a student. I found this website.
Yeah.
This website's got tons of stuff on it. I've just basically, since we recorded that last episode, I've just been reading. Been reading this website
continuously for a week
Veronica
and a half.
Mars is a student who progresses from high school to college, good for you, while moonlighting as a private investigator under the tutelage of her detective father.
Wow.
In each episode, Veronica solves a different standalone case while working to solve a more complex mystery.
Her Moriarty.
Or Lessiarty, depending on it. No, you know what? That's nothing.
No, it's staying in. That's staying in.
Miserable. Well, those are the only two shows that are on the CW, so I guess, yeah, point taken.
There's The Flash, which I really like because I've never watched any of it except for their fight scenes, which look horrendous.
I really like The Flash because I really like Reverse Flash, a.k.a. Professor Zoom, a.k.a. Eobard Thawne, one of my favorite comic book villains.
Totally.
The pettiest man alive.
Yep. It was him, Barry, or whatever the heck.
Yeah, that's it.
That's him.
Not to be confused with Barry Obama, who Gorilla Grodd tries to kill in The Flash.
Yeah, it'd be an honor to kill him.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was in The Flash. That's
this is where we stealth drop that we're just doing a Flash show next.
No. I'm quitting. I'm quitting before we start.
It's too late.
Oh, dang. I guess it is.
That's right.
I shouldn't have made that wish. So that we talked about how it was to like watch it again and what we got from this watch, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a long tradition of rewatches, right? I think we talked like with Carla, right? Our guest Carla, about like, you know, watching it with her dad and watching it again and seeing new things, right? In that interview that we talked so much about in the last episode with Patrick McGowan, he was talking about like how he got new stuff out of it every time he watched, right? So we're joining a long tradition there.
Maybe it'd be worth talking a little bit about like McGowan and what McGowan got up to. Like we've talked a little bit about his film career, but the immediate history of his life after The Prisoner, I think, bears mention. And certainly he's had a lot to. He's simultaneously had a lot to say and not had a lot to say about The Prisoner over the years.
Totally.
Yeah. Do you want to walk us through what happened as soon as The Prisoner finished?
So the timeline on this, I'm not entirely sure on. And I think that there's inconsistent information on. But basically, he ends up sort of fleeing the UK. And he spends the next 2 years with his family, right? He didn't just abandon his daughters and wife.
He threw them into the oncoming mob.
He would never. He loves his wife and daughters with a saintly love.
So you keep saying.
But then they spent the next couple of years in Sweden. Now, he wasn't like continuously trapped in Sweden or whatever. He would still do trips to like the US and the UK for various productions and things like that. But they basically lived for 2 years there. Reflecting back, he would often say that like, you know, they had to get out because there were angry mobs or whatever that were gonna kill him or something.
Yeah. Very print the legend kind of talking about the outrage over the end of the show.
And yeah, I don't know how much I buy that. I think that is, you talked about in the last episode, right? Like when you talk about the production of The Prisoner, you often do sort of, you know, make it bigger than it was, right? It's unclear to me if he already was planning to leave for a bit, right? It's unclear to me if like this was as soon as production was done, he moved, et cetera, et cetera. But he certainly was away from the UK for a bit.
Yeah. And, you know, as we mentioned in the Ice Station Zebra episode, he was clearly like trying to get into films. And after Sweden would wind up moving to California and moving to Hollywood specifically, where he would basically live for the rest of his life.
Yep. That's where the interview that we've mentioned already, right? Like that's where that took place, basically.
Yeah.
So, and it was from there, right? Like, you know, that's why he ends up being in Columbo, right?
Right. Exactly.
And a bunch of other sort of TV series and films, right?
I made a little bit of a realization before we started recording.
Oh yeah?
You know, he became pretty darn good friends with Peter Falk.
Sure.
What's an attribute that Peter Falk has that Columbo doesn't?
Is this a riddle? I mean, the glass eye? Yeah.
It's the glass eye. It's the glass eye, right?
Uh-huh.
Doesn't McGowan have another funny friend with a glass eye?
Hold on.
Leo McCurd.
Oh, does Leo McCurd have a glass eye?
Doesn't he? Yes, glass eye.
Wow. Whoa, this unlocks everything.
That's what I'm
we
saying.
Should have said this in the last
we have to watch the show over again.
Don't. There have been people who asked us to do that.
I know. I'm happy to announce the second season of The Prisoner's Dilemma will be Matthew and my mother watching the show.
Matthew, your mom, and special guest, your sister.
What's up, you cool baby?
No. God. Anyway. So there's this. Yeah. It's this interesting thing of him sort of playing up the legend as we've talked about, and him sort of settling into this role. But I think what's really interesting, right? If we think about our reading in all of this, the sort of the one that we kept on coming back to about like, you know, the village being like having to play a spy. Right?
Right. Yes.
Outside of that Columbo episode, he didn't.
Yeah,
right?
He basically seems to have left it behind. He plays, a terrorist. He plays the King of England. Mm-hmm. He plays a mad scientist.
Mm-hmm. Billy Bones in Treasure Planet.
He plays Billy Bones. He basically gets to choose whatever it is that he wants to play. He's in this movie called The Moonshine War really soon afterwards. Does not look very good.
There's that movie where he rescues the baby dinosaur.
Wait, what's that?
I don't remember. I just remember seeing clips of it. Patrick McGoohan, baby dinosaur. He like gets chased by its mom.
Baby Secret of the Lost Legend.
There it is, of course.
Yeah.
As we well know, here's an image of him like strangling a guy. Okay,
that's
fascinating.
Great. I love
that. Yeah. So, but I think that's really interesting, right? Because like as we talked about, the ending of the show The Prisoner is something where Six doesn't get to escape, but Patrick McGoohan does.
It seems that way, yeah.
And so there's this really interesting bit. I didn't manage to get it into our last episode, but you can almost think about the final episode of The Prisoner Fallout as almost like a work of magic, like a great work in a sort of like occult sense that Patrick McGoohan did to rid himself of this curse that he was living under.
Like a 15-minute long smoke bomb that he uses to escape.
Yeah. Like, what I'll do is I'll set this up so that I'll spend all the money of the production company and they'll never ask me to be a spy again. Ha ha!
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But, you know, regardless of that, people have obviously continued to think about and watch and talk about the show. I mean, there was an interview at the University of Toronto we've made mention of. There have been programs on the BBC looking back at the show. There's a yearly festival put on by 6 of 1, the longest running prisoner fan community, which I believe has its festival in Port Merion year after year.
Yep.
There's the Unmutual. If you're running the Unmutual, thank you very much. The Unmutual's the longest running prisoner fan site.
Yeah.
And
there's the prisoner subreddit. Shout outs to them posted about the show.
Totally. And, you know, lots of people that we have talked to over the course of making this are people that have had the show as part of their lives for the past 30 or 40 years or so. And so it's really interesting, I think, to see the impact that it has had over the years, even as McGoohan has had less and less to do with the actual goings on of that fandom.
Totally.
So far as I know, never like attended a fan fest or anything like that. No, you know what I mean?
No. He only barely agreed to do that interview.
There was another detail that I wanted to bring up. I think I mentioned that the 81 interview that he did was basically because someone wrote him a long letter begging him for the interview. He did the first interview that McGoohan started directing and basically took all night just trying to figure out like what the format of the thing was. And then the very next day came up to the guy and offered him a blank check saying, give me that tape. Yeah. I never want anyone to ever see it again. And the guy said, OK, well, I'll give you the tape. You have to give me another real interview. And that turned into a real interview. But then afterwards, when he took that back to England and created the documentary with it, they sent him, they sent McGoohan the rough cut of the documentary. And he said, this is terrible. I'm going to make my own. And he made he made his own documentary with Catherine, his daughter, asking him pre-written questions about the show. Wow. With a bunch of like home video footage of the California beach. And the only other sounds are English folk songs that I guess he was able to get to put on the recording. And he just made that himself and said that to the BBC and was like, here, run this instead.
Awesome.
Bit of a crank.
People are saying this.
Yeah.
Well, we could talk about it forever, and we probably will. But do we want to transition over to the lovely questions that the lovely people have sent us?
These questions are a burden to us, the hosts. But thank you so much. We got so many excellent questions from all sorts of people. I've sorted them into 2 categories, one of which I have called serious questions, and the other I have called stilly questions.
Just like that.
We're going to start with the serious ones. Matthew, would you be so kind as to read the first one?
Yeah, of course. Hi, guys. Big fan of your podcast. Thanks for your efforts so far. My question is, if we take a more literal interpretation of the ending and assume Fallout is not allegorical, how can one explain the geographic location of the village? In The Charms of Big Ben, there was a purported idea that the location was in the Baltic region. Then in Many Happy Returns, they seem to locate the village off the coast of Morocco. Then finally in Fallout, we have the understanding that the village was within driving distance of London, presumably on the British mainland. Do you have any ideas for this? Much obliged. Be seeing you, Jace. And I do apologize, Jace, for reading that with such insane energy.
I don't. I don't apologize. And I have an answer.
Oh?
Yes. We don't see a continuous shot of Angelo driving the big prison truck from the village to the highway. I think they've been going on a little bit of a road trip all across North Africa, up to the Iberian Peninsula, then up to a ferry in the Netherlands, taking that across. They've been on all kinds of adventures. The reason they're dancing, the reason they're having a ball is because this is just the end of all the adventures that they've had together.
Wow, that's beautiful.
There's a whole lost, like, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure road trip that those 4 went on.
And they did fight stand users in Egypt.
They fought stand users all across the way. There are some problematic portrayals of different nations.
There was a weird dog.
There's a weird dog. Don't like the dog. There was some cool stuff with the Zodiac. Mm-hmm. Great opening theme song.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think happened here.
That's very reasonable. And in fact, I was wondering when I was going to bring this up, but I'll do it now. So at one point, Magoon was actually planning on doing a sequel series for The Prisoner, which would have been starring, you know this, Alexis Kaner as number 48. And the idea was that it was going to be, I'm just going to quote here from his biography. It would follow Kaner's character of number 48 as he traveled around the world, trying to keep away from the surveillance of the village, which had followed them all into the outside world. The butler becoming number 48's protector.
That rules. That's so
It's
good.
Kind of great. It's kind of great.
It's just like JoJo.
It's exactly like JoJo. And this would have allowed McGoohan to take a back seat, no doubt writing, directing, and producing the series, but without the added burden of starring in it, using Kaner as his new mouthpiece.
Boy, he was really all in on Kaner, wasn't he?
He was, yeah.
And so was I.
So it's a cool idea. It never came to light. Obviously, production stalled. They didn't even like record anything. This was just like a pitch, right? That was going out there. But it does certainly match up with your sort of vision of this as like JoJo's Part 3. I have a slightly different answer to this question. I
would love to hear it.
I sort of gestured at this a few times, right? With like this notion of like the children coming from another location, the general and the professor and his wife, etc. I think there's multiple villages.
Okay.
And what would be even better than this, right? If you want perfect control, is that all the villages just look the same.
Yes, certainly that's what I would do if I were building multiple of them.
Right?
Yeah.
And if that's the case, maybe, yes, the reason why it's inconsistent is because he's at different villages. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's if you want to do a, like, it's all realistic, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
What if, all right, theory, new theory.
New theory.
The prisoner is trying to tell us about Hollow Earth.
Say more.
The subterranean tunnels all connect.
Of course.
They emerge into all of the major capitals of the world.
Obviously.
And the mole men will come and devour us, and we must be ready.
That makes a lot of sense. You know, protect other people, parentheses, from mole men. It was there all the time.
Hey, you brought up inconsistency, and I want to bring up a treasure trove that I have discovered.
Oh, yeah?
I have made no small secret of my discontent with the official prisoner companion. I have... Let it not be said that I have created a problem and not offered a solution. The definitive guide to the prisoner can be found in the GURPS module for the prisoner.
Oh my God.
Written by David Ladyman and published in 1990. Matthew, do you know about GURPS?
Yeah, I know about GURPS. I've never played it, but I know of it.
Tell the class about GURPS.
I mean, it's a tabletop system from the 1980s, I believe.
Yep, by Steve Jackson Games.
Okay, well, you already know more than I do. I mean, it is, to my knowledge, it's a very similar to D&D style of game, right? Where you have like a central GM, you have characters with like skill points, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, GURPS stands for Generic Universal Role-Playing System, and it's basically supposed to be like your game, where there's a system of mechanics that you can use to play in any sort of fictional world that you might imagine, and there are a ton of third-party supplements like this one that show you how to, say, run a game in the village or something like that. And I have to hand it to David Ladyman. It is such a well-documented summation of all the different things that are in the village, but without the voice of authority. It is very, very clear on here's the things that the show tells you. The episodes are inconsistent with one another. Reading from the book here. To fully describe the world of the prisoner would be to destroy it. It is a world of possibilities, not definite realities. Most of what you find within these covers will be options for the game master, not absolutes which must be obeyed. It would have been really easy for this book to be like, there's the court scene in Dance of the Dead, and so that's how all of their legal matters are settled. That's absolutely not the case. They mention it, and they say like, hey, this is something that you might be able to use. And it does a bunch of stuff to tell you like, hey, here's all the stuff that you can use, but here's the stuff that it gestures at that you might not necessarily have picked up on before. There's suggestions for what if it's all aliens, or what if the village was keeping occult beasts trapped or something like that. There's an excellent picture of like a werewolf wearing one of the Badget numbers.
Oh my god,
it's great. It's so well. And then in the back, it has spectacular episode summaries for every single episode of the show. So shout outs to you, David Lederman, and
thanks.
The Prisoner GURPS supplement.
That's incredible. Good answer. Good answer to Jace's question about the location of the village. Just
all
look
right.
at the GURPS supplement.
Hello, folks. Just wanted to thank you for this podcast series that motivated me to rewatch The Prisoner, even though I had watched it only like 3 years ago. Turns out I also have no memory and had forgotten most of the details of the show, and having this podcast helped me enjoy the show even more than I already had. I don't know if you've already recorded the Q&A, but I'd love to see what your watch order is if you'd have to make one that isn't the release order. Thanks for the show, Alexis Pelletier. Thank you, Alexis.
Yeah, thanks.
Matthew?
Me? I do have one.
Well, I just read the question, so I get to ask you.
Oh, I see how this works.
Yeah. Yeah, so you have a podcast where you sort of talk back and forth?
What?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's not how I do it. I just talk.
Yeah, I've been editing you out of every single episode before you release it.
Yeah. What happens is I talk for an hour straight. No breath. And then Brendan cuts it up and adds in his own vocalizations afterwards.
Next project, whatever it is, I think I'm going to take the McElroy Roman Mars smart stuff approach, where you just keep talking and I keep playing soundboard effects, where I'm like, interesting. McGowan was crazy for this one.
That's a good idea. To answer the question. So I gestured at this back at an earlier point. I think when we were talking about Many Happy Returns, right? I think, and I was talking about how because it's very funny, we get a date February in the Schizoid Man, right? Yep. About how I had a chronological order, which is slightly different than the 6 of 1 chronological order. I'll
tell you what. Let me jump ahead and read that other question because that's pertinent. Show guest Michael Hansen. Hello,
Mike.
Matthew and Brendan. Throughout the podcast, you have mentioned the prisoner through the lens of number 6's character arc. He starts out as a combative new arrival who means to escape at any cost, but eventually cools into a simmering malcontent who refers to himself as number 6 and even seems to get along with the other villagers. Number 2, what is the Prisoner's Dilemma podcast's official chronological watch order? Best, Michael Hansen. Thank you, Michael. So we have 2 requests there. We have a request for what is our watch order and what is the chronological order.
Yeah. So I can run through this fairly fast.
Okay.
The first 4 are exactly the same as the 6 of 1's order, and I haven't hidden my thoughts on this earlier, right?
Right.
So it's Arrival, Free for All, Dance of the Dead, Checkmate, right?
Makes sense.
All the ones that were sort of planned as like potential number 2s, in the series all go up in the beginning. Then we get the Checkmate and then to Chimes of Big Ben. That's the last of sort of the first 5. From here, I differ from the 6 of 1 order. I put the Schizoid Man next.
Okay.
Instead, 6 of 1 says it goes directly from the Chimes of Big Ben into A, B, and C, and then the General, which is nonsense to me. Because the General so has to be in front of A, B, and C.
I would think so.
I'd think so.
Yeah.
So I instead say
and if
number
you
6.
Think so.
No. So number 6, episode 6 gets to be the Schizoid Man, which is funny to me because there's 2 number 6s in the episode as well. Then 7 and 8 is the General and then A, B, and C, because I think that makes the most sense. Mm-hmm. Then Many Happy Returns, right? And then we get It's Your Funeral, right after Many Happy Returns in my order.
Okay.
And my reasoning there is that it explains why 6 doesn't even try to escape with the guy at the end. Because in Many Happy Returns, right, this is the one where he gets to go, Mistress Butterworth, et cetera, et cetera.
I see. Because
So we know there's no point.
Right. Okay.
Right? Then hammer into anvil directly after it's your funeral, right? Because this we get a little bit of like, Six at his most like involved in the village, right? It's your funeral. He like foils the assassination attempt. Hammer into anvil. He like takes down a number 2 because he's so involved with this like one lady. And then we put a change of mind right after that, which works because after hammer to anvil, he's now like separated himself from the community. He's now unmutual, right? So he doesn't have friends in the village anymore.
Sure. Right.
Do not forsake me, oh my darling, right after that, because we have to put it somewhere if we do. And it also kind of works, right? Because then you get like a change of mind into do not forsake me is like a bunch of weird mind stuff altogether.
Right. Yes.
And then the rest is all exactly the same as 6 of 1. So that's living in harmony, the girl who was death, once upon a time, Fallout. Basically the same order we watched it in.
Okay.
And I think that works okay to answer the first part of the question as well.
Okay.
I don't think going from Arrival into Free For All is good for a first-time watch.
No, I mean, the answer is you should watch them in the order that they were broadcast. But it's a fun exercise. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Would you like to hear mine?
Yeah, of course, please.
I have mine sort of divided up into 2 seasons.
Ooh.
With a deliberate arc between each of the 2.
I like this.
Okay. Season 1 starts with Arrival. Free For All. Checkmate.
Okay.
The General.
Okay.
Schizoid Man.
Interesting.
Chimes of Big Ben.
Okay, interesting.
You've got a bunch of stuff that is number 6 is new in the village. Weird stuff is going on, but he's still trying to escape. He's dealing with some weird, peculiar things. We get some regular characters introduced in the mix here.
Sure.
That's the end of season 1.
Okay.
Season 2 opens with many happy returns.
Interesting.
Episode 2, A, B, and C. All of a sudden, we learn, number 2s can go back. That's interesting. Hammer into Anvil. Living in Harmony. Once Upon a Time. Fallout. End of season 2.
Interesting.
Yep. Brendan, that's not all of the episodes of The Prisoner. I know. I think some of them aren't very good.
No. Dance of the Dead. I feel so sorry for you.
It has no place here.
I couldn't fix him on that one.
No, I cut Dance. I cut Funeral. I cut Change of Mind. I cut fan favorite Do Not Forsake Me, Oh My Darling, because as novel as it is, it doesn't make any goddamn sense.
It doesn't.
And certainly not Girl Who Was Death.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll take it as a win that I got you to keep Living in Harmony.
Oh, yeah. Love that one.
Now?
Yeah, that's great.
All right. I think that's fair.
One of the things that we had deliberated doing for the show that we didn't wind up doing is there are scripts of unproduced episodes. We ultimately decided not to do them because it didn't really make sense for the looking at the show through Patrick McGowan lens. We didn't really feel like it would be fun, but it'd be a lot of work for something that wouldn't have that kind of a payout for the kind of study that we were trying to do. But there's at least 4 of them out there. I think we made the determination that 2 of them are kind of good.
Yeah.
One of them involves number 6 formulating a plan to escape and then discovering or being accosted by a villager council who are have imposed themselves on people who are trying to escape to vet and approve their plans.
What?
The joke of which being that they don't none of the things that they approve ever seem to work.
Sure, of course. I remember you mentioning the Village Council episode when you were talking about these, because Brendan's the one who read these, to be clear to the audience. I don't think you mentioned that they were vetting escape plans. That's very funny. Yeah,
there's also this subplot with this one guy who discovers that there's a gold mine in the village and is using explosives to
What?
Get gold so that when he escapes, he'll be rich.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And then he finds the werewolf prison in there.
Oh, I was going to say another good idea from the GURPS module is to have rotating games masters. That way, there's a new number 2 every week.
Yeah. When I was playing around years ago with the prisoner-inspired tabletop role-playing game, I had the same idea of like you'd play in rounds, and every round a different person at the table would be the number 2.
That's good. We should make that.
Maybe someday. Too many games to make.
Maybe. I thought I had something else I was going to read out of this. A bunch of good stuff.
I believe you. You should run a session sometime.
Maybe. I've never played GURPS before, but
Me neither. I've played Jags.
What's Jags?
It's just another game system.
I think you told me about this when we started Fathom. I think that's true.
Yeah.
Do you want to read the next question?
So we got a good question from my friend Justice, who said a bunch of nice things. Thanks, Justice. But he was basically asking, along with some other folks, asking how they could best support us and what we're thinking about doing for our next project.
Yeah, I like making the show a lot. I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think there's other stuff out there that would be worth engaging with and talking about. And certainly it seems like people like listening to us. And so Matthew and I are definitely talking about, what we would like to do next. I don't think we've settled on exactly what that is or what form positively it would take. But I think once we have some idea of what it is and how you can listen to it and how you can support us, certainly we will let you know. In the meantime, thank you.
Yeah, thanks a bunch. We have a list. People can know there is a list.
We do have a list. Yeah.
And we're checking it twice.
And that list, it's good.
It's a pretty good list.
It's good. Even when you take into account other much more successful podcast networks.
Who may or may not be stepping on our toes.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
We watched Ice Station Zebra. We have the moral high ground.
Yeah, we do. Get me there.
You want to read the next one?
All right, I'm going to combine these next two questions because they're kind of getting at the same sort of thing. This is from Chris Tuttle saying a bunch of nice things, but asking, I'd love to hear you say more about the show's precedents and postcedents. I am unaware of the Prisoner two-man stage play, but I'm curious if you think TV shows like Outer Limits, Twilight Zone, possibly Star Trek and other stuff served as any kind of inspiration for a surreal or an allegorical show. Timing is tight, so I'm not sure if McGowan Kirk's a computer or if Kirk McGowan's a computer. And then following on from that, from Ian, given the rather dismal reception of most of the official continuations of The Prisoner, as well as the remake show, what media would you say successfully carries on the legacy of The Prisoner? Is there any media, TV in particular, that is similarly so singularly defined by the vision, performance, and experience of a single individual? A bunch of the weird stuff that we've been talking about is on the list of like what we might want to talk about in the future.
Totally.
I can't speak, I think, to like other television that might have inspired McGowan. I feel like
sure
a lot of the stuff that we've talked about in terms of his inspiration from the things that he'd seen and witnessed as part of his own career in making Danger Man and gathering up basically the sort of interest in allegorical fiction and the other professionals that he'd worked with along the way really sort of gave rise to that more than any other adjacent television. I don't know if you have other thoughts on that.
In terms of like, things that came before that inspired him, like we already talked about the Prisoner play, we talked about Brand, but also like, we've mentioned them several times, but just to be explicit about it, right? There's a ton of other spy media that was on screen at that time.
Right.
Right. And of course they're drawing inspiration and like playing with that form, right? Like a lot of what the Girl Who Was Death episode is about is like lampooning, in my opinion, lampooning, right? This other kinds of spy media, right?
Yeah. So Danger Man was the biggest show on TV for a long time. When you have one thing that is the biggest show on TV, you have 20 other people that are going to be aping that style. It's a whole, the Kiss Kiss Bang Bang genre, they called it. It was this entire like run at like, this is what people seem to want to watch on TV. Let's put it on TV.
And that's happening now, right? Like, we had we were earlier talking about the CW shows. I don't know if that's going to make it into the podcast, right? But like we had such a rush of superhero media in like the 2010s, early 2020s, right? That like now you're getting like reactions to the superhero media, right? Like The Boys is one of the biggest TV series, and it's about what if the superheroes were bad guys, right?
Right. Yeah, I think we're back in the cycle once again of unironic, gritty takes on military fiction focused on like the one strong, good soldier who knows what to do. We've moved sort of past the like cynical Homeland kind of thing. And it's more about like, no, there's actually a job that needs to be done. And only this one man who has shoulders as big as Strong Mad can do it.
Who has no neck. The lack of a neck makes him brave.
USA! USA! In terms of
yeah, please, no, you.
No, please.
In terms of the things that were inspired by The Prisoner.
Right.
I think there's a lot. We even already mentioned Utena, right? Revolutionary Girl, Utena or Utena, depending on who you ask. And we're not covering it. Sorry, Bird.
Not for this show.
keep on just teasing them along. Maybe next time we'll do Utena.
Hey, any episode, including this one, could turn into an Utena episode.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
We could break right here and watch the whole series and then come back.
That's right. We could many happy returns you any time.
And we've all
Hey, Matthew, what is Utena?
It's an interesting question, Brendan.
Thank you. I've always wanted to know.
So it was originally a manga, from my understanding, right? It's sort of heavily inspired by like Magical Girl, right? You might have heard of like Sailor Moon, right? So just as The Prisoner is sort of like playing off of a bunch of stuff in spy fiction, it's similarly playing off with a bunch of stuff in terms of like Magical Girl fiction, right? But not to the point of like people might have heard of like Madoka Magica, for example, right? Which is a dark, I guess, gritty take on Magical Girl fiction. But it follows this main character, Utena, who is dueling for this other character, Anthe the Rose Bride. And she basically, every episode has a duel about it. She wins every duel, mostly. And then there's some comedy episodes where a girl is a cow. That's Utena.
But it's like she's at a high school and she's forced into this weird like fantasy dueling situation.
Yeah, I mean, but the high school is a bit like, what if a high school was the city from Dark City? Like, it's not clear if there's anything outside the high school, really. Like, if anything outside that exists. I mean, there's
like
sort of like a
village
little
of some kind.
Like a village of some kind. The Utena is of The Prisoner-like, for sure.
I see.
Both in terms of production and also in terms of like the way it's playing with themes of individuality and freedom, the way it's like dense and layered and you can read a bunch of stuff into it, for sure.
Cool.
But it's not the only one. And we've mentioned a bunch of the other ones, right? So like, but just to call them out here along the way, right? We mentioned Twin Peaks.
Right.
That's definitely one of these.
I know what that is.
We mentioned... You do. We mentioned Sapphire and Steel. I brought them up earlier, right? I think that's another one of these. And there's a bunch of other ones. Like more recently, people might have seen like the internet shows The Amazing Digital Circus or Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, both of which I would consider to be Prisoner likes, right? I think this is basically sort of a genre of like, you know, people are trapped in a place and there's metaphor. Watch out.
Yeah. It's interesting. I have a list of stuff that I think is playing in the same space, but saying, oh, it's a Prisoner like is almost a spoiler for the show.
I know.
So it's like, you know, who could say? I think the thing that I was thinking a little bit more of is one of the things that I think is really unique about The Prisoner is not merely how strange and allegorical it is, but that it is such a singular product that is created, written, starring, and directed by Patrick McGoohan in so many instances.
Totally.
I think if I was like, when I think about like, okay, well, what is a modern McGoohan and what are they making? I'm thinking about like Tommy Wiseau in The Room.
Oh, no. Why is that where you go?
Because he was in complete and total control and he put himself at the center of everything.
I guess.
Are you familiar with Neil Breen?
Yes, I've heard of Neil Breen.
Neil Breen, who is a writer, actor, director of a series of films about himself, or not about himself, but what he is in the thing. So he's a professional architect, which he uses to finance all of his own films.
Wow.
They're all psychological thrillers.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, of course. It's great. They're not great. They're firmly in the like The Room style. They're so bad it's good type stuff.
Interesting.
Man.
I mean,
Yeah.
David Lynch was not unlike this. You know, rest in peace, David Lynch. Right?
Sure. Yes.
Where he would often put himself in his things, not as a central role, but like often a role in authority, an important role. Right.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. More so than the way that like Quentin Tarantino often has a cameo in his movies,
Totally.
but he has never. Lynch, I think, is more prone to putting himself closer to the center of the action in a way that he can contribute, if not to the action of a thing, but to the lesson of the thing, or to the message of the thing that he's trying to make.
Yeah. I mean, Change Your Hearts or Die is maybe him at his most McGoohan, right?
Yes, it is. The true ally speaking out for all the oppressed.
Salutes.
It's okay for cis people to be friends with trans people because David Lynch said so.
Gosh.
Those clown comics is a good line though.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, he can write. He can write. Lynch can write.
Which makes him like McGoohan.
It's true. Yeah. But like The Amazing Digital Circus, which I don't think you've watched any of, but like Gooseworks also puts herself into that, right? Which is a wildly in a similar sort of David Lynchy sort of space. So like, if we're thinking about creators who we think might be good and produce things that are worth watching, like that's maybe more in keeping with the spirit of the thing.
I guess. I mean, part of the difficulty is I think 2020's Patrick McGoohan would be absolutely intolerable.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, like I think one, he would be a lot more obvious and on the nose, but I think he would be making much more wretched content and saying things more publicly and so I like, obviously I like The Prisoner and I like Patrick McGoohan in it. I respect him as a creator. And so when I think about like, oh, what's a McGoohan like these days, you know what I mean? I guess I'm automatically inheriting that baggage. You know what I mean?
Sure. I think that there's a big difference between a McGoohan and a Wiseau, though, right? Which is the thing we just said, which is like McGoohan can actually write.
Yeah, totally. Right? Completely.
And so even if he was like talking to the media and saying things about, you know, personal freedom that we might find suspect for whatever reason, right? Like I anticipate the things he was making would still be interesting.
Sure.
Right?
Yes.
And worth watching, not in a like I'm hate watching it because it's so bad, right?
Right. Is Kojima a McGoohan?
Oh, Kojima's a McGoohan for sure.
Yeah.
That's it. We nailed it. That's
because
it.
he also puts himself in his own things.
He does.
Yeah.
He does. And he can write.
He can. And he is a nightmare to work with.
He is. Yeah. He's got a scan. In Japanese, they have this beautiful phrase. They don't call someone beautiful. They say, Hideo Kojima would scan her. It's not a real thing.
That's not real at all.
It's not real. It's not real. It's not real. Don't quote me on that. Yeah. It's Kojima. It's Kojima for sure.
Well, I guess
the thing about him making Death Stranding 2 worse because it was reviewing too well.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's so good.
Have you played any of it? I can't. No, I can't. It's impossible. No one's played Death Stranding 2. It's too good.
Our mutual friend Jay, who we've played video games with, has already played the whole thing twice, I think.
Well, it's a very Kojima games are very easy games to replay because you just skip all the cutscenes and it's like 3 hours.
Or you rewatch them because now you have a deeper understanding of like who was this character actually the whole time.
Right.
Just like the prisoner.
Damn, what if we did a Kojima cast?
I mean, it's not on the list, but I was saying that like I think long form video game podcasting is like not something anybody has really figured out. Like, how do you do a play along in a podcast is an open question, I think.
Sure. Well, thankfully we're the two smartest people in the entire world, so we'll fix it, no problem.
Yeah. We'll solve it. We've seen Ice Age and Zebra.
Would you read the next question, please?
Of course. Hi, prisoners. I'm allegedly speaking to you through a glowing lens embedded in a large metal monolith in a cave, and just finished The Prisoner, and it knocked my socks off and made me have a strong desire for surreal and weird things. Do you have any recommendations for shows that are or get weird over the course of their run?
That question's from Cassius. Thank you, Cassius.
Real quick, that to this question, really appreciate it. It's obviously similar to the questions we answered a moment ago. I've actually compiled a quick Google Doc in which I have broken down into categories of prisoner-like anime, other animated or puppeted prisoner-likes, live-action TV series prisoner-likes, movies that are prisoner-likes, and bonus round, which I think we'll link in the show notes.
Yeah, thank you, Matthew.
Yeah, thank you, Brendan.
Obviously, do your due diligence in terms of like content warnings for any of the things there. Do not take these as unabashed recommendations.
No, for sure. There's a lot of horror for whatever reason when you get to prisoner likes.
All right, here's another question. Mm-hmm. It's obvious that the contemporary circumstances heavily impacted the prisoner, such as advanced technology, globalization, and the threat of the Cold War. If McGoohan and everyone else involved had created the prisoner in the 2020s instead, do you think the core themes would have remained the same or dramatically changed? From Ash.
Thanks, Ash.
What do you think? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I was going, I was going to let you answer. Then I realized your thing earlier where I have to answer because you asked the question.
That's right.
Which doesn't seem fair. I asked and answered the last question.
Yeah, right. Well, you didn't obey the rules.
No, and I'm being punished for it.
Have you seen the 2009 Prisoner miniseries?
I have watched parts of it. It's a wildly different show.
It seems like I've read a summary of the show. It seems like it's just doing a completely different thing.
It's completely different. I don't even include it as a prisoner. Like,
no. Here's the thing. I don't think I have any interest in seeing it in conversation with the prisoner.
Sure.
It doesn't seem like a bad show. It seems like it's just doing something different.
It's totally different. Yeah.
And the reason I bring that up is I think the prisoner is doing something. Mm-hmm. But I think actually it's kind of wonderful to look at the prisoner and to think, oh, that show is doing something. I can do something else with those pieces in some new way. Now, should the new 2009 The Prisoner just been called something else instead of The Prisoner? Yes. Did they make it another The Prisoner in order to cash in on the name of the original show? Yes. But
from my
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, but from my understanding, they were like genuine fans.
Oh, totally.
They were like,
yeah.
So I think that's part of this as well. It wasn't purely a money grab.
Right. But I appreciate the idea of like, oh, if it's 2020 and we have to make The Prisoner, like,
sure,
you could do whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like, the village can be a city. The village can be full of werewolves.
Uh-huh.
That all that is simply to say that, like, I think some of the themes would have been the same. I think some would have been different. Again, I'm really glad that we don't have Patrick McGoohan on Twitter here in 2025 in order to make me think about the things that he's posting and complicating my relationship to his work in that way. But I think that regardless of what the themes are, I think I would like to hope that he'd find a way to make those things work using some of the things that are in the air now as opposed to what was in the air that back then. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, totally. I mean, the big thing that jumps out is like, I think The General is a very different episode.
Yes.
If it's made in the 2020s, we touched on that a little bit, I think.
Yep. I think Schizoid Man is very different.
Yep.
Probably
Totally.
probably not called the Schizoid Man.
Probably not. A change of mind, right? It's certainly, we're not all going around and, getting lobotomies these days. It's probably unfortunately now about like, oh, you shouldn't take those pills. They're controlling your mind, man.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of like technology will break your brain in some way. There's a lot of chemical brain manipulation across both that time and our time. I think if you make the show these days, I think one of the things, so thinking more practically, I think you get more meta plot per episode where it's more about like, yeah, there's an adventure of the week, but we got to have like the central mystery keep building up week after week in a way that absolutely doesn't in the original show. Sure. I think you get more two-parters. I think you either get a consistent number 2 or a small group of number 2s that rotate in and out.
Sure.
I think you get a lot more recurring characters.
Yeah, I think it's probably also shorter, right?
Oh, totally.
Like, if The Prisoner was made in the streaming era, like, it doesn't get a 17-episode run. It gets an 8-episode run.
It gets an 8-episode run, and it's canceled before everyone's watched episode 6.
Yeah. In the 1960s, Surf Dracula gets to surf every episode. And the modern retelling doesn't surf until the final episode.
That's right. That's right. Okay. It's 2025, and there's a new prisoner. Who do you cast as number 6?
Ooh, that's tough. Ooh, I don't know. Do you have an idea?
No. But I will.
You know what?
Who?
What about Dev Patel?
Dev Patel. That's real good.
He can do action scenes.
Sure
right?
can.
He's
English?
Creator. Yeah. He's a creator who has a very specific like directorial view, right? He does weird stuff, right? Green Knight, right?
Does weird stuff.
I think it'd be great.
Damn. Yeah, that'd be good.
You could even play off, like, instead of it being he's famous for, the spy thing, you could, like, play off, like, the Slumdog Millionaire references. And you could have, like, number 2's obsessed with quiz shows or whatever.
Every episode is just themed for another Dev Patel movie.
Actually could kind of work.
Yeah.
That'd be good. We should get in contact with Dev Patel.
Yeah, I bet he'd at least have the conversation.
Dear Mr. Patel, we watched Ice Station Zebra, and therefore we think. Goodness. Do you have a different answer? Should we move on?
No. My answer is also Dev Patel.
Let's go. Oh my God. It's good it was me, though, who has to read this one.
Yeah.
Friend of the show, Bird, go listen to Glorindrina, I haven't had to say that out loud yet, Station, her new podcast. She asks, so I understand why Utena turns into a car at the end. She's the vehicle for Anthy's escape. But why do you think, I haven't had to say this word before out loud, Kazooie? It's not Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah, it's Banjo-Kazooie. He turns into a car.
Is a car too. And how does this tie into the car ride as sex symbolism in Apocalypse Arc duels? Thanks. I think this is a question for you, Brennan, as our number 1 Utena fan.
Yeah. Kazooie turns into a car because it's awesomely epic. And it's just like F1 starring Brad Pitt.
It's exactly like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
We could have said Brad Pitt would have been a good number 6. He certainly had a long enough career, but we didn't.
No, that's what sets us apart from other prisoner podcasts.
It's true.
Stupid.
I think we should just leave it there. I don't think I should answer this.
Yeah, you know what? Tune in to find out if Brendan ever finds out who Kazooie is and why they turn into a car.
I mean, you might have seen just the clip from this because it's going around the internet a lot.
I've seen Utena turn into a car. I've not seen anyone anyone else turn into a car except for
There's
Turbo
a bit where
Teen.
she drives up as a car. It's Tomoe, I think that's her first name. It's been like 5 years since I watched the show. And she says, "Are you surprised? It's a big mistake to think you're the only one who can turn into a car. I'm a car now, too."
Damn, that's good.
It's really good. Utena's a good show.
If only you had not prevented me from watching the show through your wiles and machinations.
Don't put this on me. Bert'll kill me.
All right, here's another question. Patty Fitz needs your help. Hit TV show The Prisoner needs to put in 2 more episodes and is asking everyone on the crew what they do if they headed an episode. What would each of you do for your opportunity to make a Prisoner episode? Thanks to the podcast Kind Pod Village Wardens from Adelaide. Thank you, Adelaide.
I already pitched one version of this, which is I would really like a Colin Gordon triptych, a trilogy to see him one more time.
What does he do?
I think it's got to be that he goes directly after the events of
That's
A,
right.
B, and C. Yeah, to number 6 and says, "You got to get me out of here."
Yeah, we get a buddy comedy where they're handcuffed together, escaping across the moors.
I would love that. That would
That's
be
really
so
good.
good. And it would fix one of the big problems that we've had with it of like the lack of recurring actors and like a clear like narrative through line here.
Mm-hmm.
And it would also explicitly give us like a tension point of 6 having to go from I won't work with a number 2 to I will work with a number 2. And we can actually see that on screen as opposed to it's sort of happening off screen.
Right. I think that would be good. I have 2 ideas.
Ooh.
My first idea is that we open in the middle of number 6 and a number of other villagers on board a ship in the middle of an escape attempt.
Oh, cool.
And it gets wrecked on an island.
Okay.
And the episode is number 6 trying desperately to get them to work together in order to repair the ship or light a signal fire or gather supplies. And by the end has simply recreated the order of the village, at which point he is then rescued by the people from the village.
That'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
The idea of number 6 having to be in charge of other people,
Right.
is pretty good.
Yeah, it's like an episode of Lost, except Jack's just getting angrier and angrier in every scene.
That's his mutant superpower.
That's right. My other idea is it's another take at the Danger Man episode idea.
Oh,
But the village is giving number 6 a mission.
sure. Yeah.
It says, hey, we have an opportunity for you. We're sending you to blank Soviet bloc country in order to do this one thing. We understand that you don't want to do it and you don't want to work for us, but we think we'll take this mission because you think you'll find some opportunity to escape. You won't, but we're willing to take that chance if you do this mission.
That's
And
fun.
it's basically just another take at John Drake doing some sort of cool thing that he did in the 2nd or 3rd season, but it has the added complication of number 6 trying to get away from his handlers the entire time, but realizing, oh, I know I actually have to do the mission too, because otherwise some bad thing will happen.
Yeah, I mean, this is a bit like if George Markstein had gotten his season 2,
Yes,
right, we would have sort
it
of
is.
gotten an episode like that.
Yeah.
But I do like your bit that you've added as a twist of like he's still trying to escape. The whole time.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really good. But yeah, the idea of like him having to finally decide between I think this person I'm trying to get is so evil that I have to get them.
Right.
He's drinking, he's shooting guns, he's kissing girls, all on screen.
He's
at the same
kissing
time.
everybody. It's
I must kill
wild.
him. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. I like
He's
that a
going
lot.
to kill the Pope.
No, not the Pope.
Yep.
Which Pope?
Oh,
Pope
good
would it
question.
be? This is important. This is important, listener. Which Pope was around in like 1968?
Which Pope is it?
It is Pope Paul VI.
I don't know anything about Paul VI.
Paul VI? Pope VI was... Is this the right one? I mean, it's one of the Pauls. I'm on the right one. Yep. Canonization. Yep. Give me those miracles. What miracles did you do? Just intercession. No, where's the actual miracles? Okay, I'm not finding it. I can't tell if this is the actual guy. I mean, there was an assassination
You are not
attempt
the Pope. You're not capable of being the Pope.
I had a Pope,
But now I don't. You are not the Pope. Great.
Yeah.
All right, you want to read this next one?
Oh, geez, yeah, I don't even have it up. I was too busy on Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia.
Get it together.
Yeah, you would never go on Wikipedia. Hi, Brennan and Matthew.
No, I've been on Wikipedia this entire time. Whenever I look up any of this information.
Your heavy Star Wars accent just means I couldn't tell the difference. You sent him to the Outer Rim, didn't you? Hi, Brennan and Matthew. Hi, Brennan and Matthew. How do you feel about the fact that McGowan's spy alias in Ice Station Zebra is Davy Jones? Why did it take me so long to realize it was a bad pun? Have you ever realized anything interesting about the prisoner while lying awake at 3 a.m.? What bad pun name would you have given to number 6 if an episode script had called for it? Be seeing you, Michael. I didn't realize until I read this question that it was Davy Jones. So thank you for that, Michael.
I have many times suddenly realized something about the prisoner. Like, for example, that Leo McKern and Peter Falk both have glass eyes, which is why Patrick McGowan so desperately wanted to be both of their friends.
He had to collect them all. Each eye was actually a Dragon Ball. And if he could get all of them, he could wish to Shenron. That's why he didn't have to be a spy anymore. He did a wish on Shenron. We figured it out. Anyway. Do you have a pun name?
Is it a pun name for McGowan or for number 6?
I think for number 6 is what the question is. But if you have a McGowan one, I take it.
I mean, my go-to would be like there's like a toga party or something like that, and people call him Sextus Maximus or something like that.
There we go. Yeah.
I was toga party, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, a toga party. Like they had in ancient Rome, toga parties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a toga party every day for them.
Yeah. When Brutus stabbed Caesar, that was a toga
party. That's what he said when he stabbed him. And then Caesar, actually, most people don't know this, but when Caesar was like dying, his last words were, toga party.
It got changed into A2 Brute, but that's completely different.
Yeah, it's from the Greek.
It's from the Greek. Yeah, I think that otherwise it would, unless it was like a number pun, right? I have been thinking about like 6 Afraid of 7. There might be something there, right? Because
Sure.
7, 8, 9.
Some sort of a slant rhyme.
Yeah. Cockney rhyming slang.
Yeah,
for Alexis
yeah.
Kaner. I think otherwise it would have to depend on the episode, right? Like a C episode, obviously you can get a Davy Jones type thing going on.
Wow.
That really says a lot about society.
This is from Cal. What's number 6's Nen ability?
Oh, no.
Would he pass the Hunter exam? Thank you again. Be seeing you, Cal.
Have we ever explained for the people who are watching, who are listening to the show, who have never heard of Hunter x Hunter, what the heck we're talking about?
No, why would we?
Yeah, good point. Everybody's seen the anime Hunter x Hunter.
Everyone's seen Hunter x Hunter. And everyone's seen the original 1990s series Hunter x Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Matthew.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have an answer?
I think his Nen ability, we've already seen it.
Okay.
Obviously, he's an invoker and a manipulator, and his Nen ability is Rover, a.k.a. Bouncing White Ball Surprise.
Rover combines the properties of bubble gum and rubber and gum.
It's true, he does, actually.
Yeah. Yes, we've said this before. I think...
Have we?
Yeah, of course. We talk about this all the time.
Okay.
I think there's ample evidence to suggest this. However, I've thought about this a lot.
Oh.
Yes. For once, I've thought about it a lot.
Uh-huh.
I think number 6 is an anti-manipulator.
Ooh.
I think his Nen is particularly given to not only resisting the impulses of manipulators, but in fact inspiring the opposite of control in people around him, which he can use to inflame emotions or free inhibitions or otherwise make people behave as they truly want to behave so that no one, even themselves, can control them. That's what I think.
Does it have a name?
Does it have a name?
Yeah.
Nope.
How about Freeman's Allegory?
Freeman's Allegory. I think it'd be dumber than that.
I mean, that's pretty dumb.
I know.
Yeah, let's quick check GURPS. What does GURPS say?
Let's go back to GURPS.
Check to see in the index if it says if you
Oh, no, it would be called Free For All.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
There it is. That makes sense. Yeah, he can enforce Zetsu.
Exactly.
A term Brennan definitely knows because Brennan's seen all of Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah, I've seen all of Hunter x Hunter. I've seen when Dio gets killed. I've seen the Stone Men. I've seen when he goes to King Kai's planet. Seen when King Kai gets turned into a car.
Yep.
Yeah.
Goku, I'm a car now.
It's a mistake to think only you could turn into a car.
No, Goku! If you turn into a car, it'll destroy the planet!
Krillin in the foreground. This is nuts!
Oh man, I can't believe it!
Holy shit, you've got so many DBZ characters on lock.
I don't. I just watched a lot of it as a kid.
Have you got a Piccolo?
Of course I have a Piccolo. I'm the best goddamn dad in anime.
Oh, these cars are going so fast.
Oh my god, I've got to use the special beam cannon.
Pull over.
Go on, I'm teaching you how to drive.
All right. Who's the show for?
It's for us. We've said. Would he pass the Hunter exam?
Number 6 would pass the Hunter exam, but he wouldn't use a single Nen ability the entire time.
Like Ahsoka.
Right.
I think he would fail to pass the Hunter exam because Netero could sense the great evil lurking inside him. And then all of his friends would go on an arc where they would have to go back to his house and his abusive family with his dad, Liam McCurran, there.
Oh,
And
they have to get him from the village. That's so
yes,
good.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll ask another question. Which large American food chain should have a franchise location in the village? What position would number 6 work at said location? Thanks, DW.
Cheesecake Factory.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
And the position?
He'd probably be front of house.
All right. Front of house manager or like a host?
Maitre d'.
Ah.
Yeah.
Going to your table. Would you like to see our wine list here at the Cheesecake Factory?
I recommend the avocado egg rolls. They are wretched. We have 144 types of cheesecake. How about you?
It's a really good question. I hadn't thought about this one enough.
I know you're unfamiliar with American food chains.
Yeah, from Canada, I can only look at them with my big telescope.
Right. Enviously.
If only. What about the Texas Roadhouse?
staring with jealousy at our Publixes.
If only. No, I think Texas Roadhouse, that one where you can throw your peanuts on the ground.
That's exactly right. You can throw your peanuts on the ground. And then Rover comes by and picks them all up.
Yeah, he hoovers them up. One of his abilities. And the position that he would... I think it'd be really funny to make him be a bartender, actually.
Oh, okay. At a Texas Roadhouse, he'd probably be like desperate to serve someone a cocktail or a glass of wine, and everyone keeps
Exactly.
drinking Natty Light and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He'd get more and more upset. He would be expected to talk to people and like be friendly and consoling, which he could not do.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have an alcohol theme. So it works perfectly with the prisoner, I think.
Fantastic. People would be asking him his thoughts about the big game.
The big chess match that we just did outside.
Actually, that reminds me. Hang on. I'm looking something up. Got a lot of good questions.
We did.
Alexis Pelletier also sent in a short video on cricket that explains the rules on cricket.
Oh, thanks.
That demonstrates that cricket umpires just sort of wore those coats back then. So when I was confused about why they seem to be dressed up like scientists, that's how they dressed.
That's how it was back in the day.
Thank you, Alexis.
Thanks, Alexis. I think I asked the last one.
If you could have anyone across time and space on as a guest to talk about The Prisoner, who would it be? Ash.
Thanks, Ash. For me, it's got to be either, I have two answers, obviously, Sir Terry Pratchett. Because I think he'd be really interesting
Sure.
to talk to about this. And he has a lot of disdain for British media.
Oh, okay.
And he's a very funny guy, right?
Yeah.
And on that same note, I would love to have Douglas Adams on.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
How about you?
I also have two.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I'm a big fan of a funny guy, Leo McKern.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
My second answer is Matthew's grandfather.
Oh, that's kind of you.
We talk shit about you the entire time.
It's true.
Look at this
It's
worm.
true. This guy, he can't even fix a car. What an idiot.
He can't even turn into a car. Look at him.
I can't even turn it into a car. Liam McKern would be fun because the whole time, because we record it, we've mentioned this before, we record with the video. So the whole time, Leo McKern would be saying, "Oh, yes, I loved Patrick McGowan," while staring at us and being like, the whole time shaking his head with a big eyes. It'd be great.
If we had Leo McKern on, then we would have to do pre-show for an hour and then tell him, okay, now we're recording. But the whole preamble would be the actual recording that I use.
There it is.
Because he's going to go back into the past whenever the show is over, so he won't get angry that I've misled him in this way.
Right. He'll never know. He'll never know.
Yeah.
Makes sense. The idea, but hold on. I like that you've added to this that they die again afterwards.
Oh, obviously. We're not going back in time to record.
No.
We've got our podcasting set up already. We can't leave this.
No. That's very funny. The whole time they're like, "Wait, I'm dead? Can I talk to my children?" No. You're talking to us. Okay. The most important question we've maybe ever been asked. Who would win in a game of Kosho, Brendan or Matthew?
Here's the thing.
Oh, sorry. This is from Argos. Thanks, Argos.
Thank you, Argos. I think you are a more disciplined student of the martial arts than I am.
Okay.
I do think that I would fight dirty.
Yeah, you would.
So I think the answer is that I would win, but I'd feel really bad about it.
Well, you don't need to feel too bad. Because as soon as I knew we were playing Kosho, I would immediately forfeit or throw the match.
You don't even have the outfit on.
I don't have, my arm.
You're not even in the room.
Yeah, exactly. I throw myself into the dunk tank. I'm like, oh no, you got me. Brendan, your psychic powers, they manifested.
I guess that's my net ability. Yeah, if Matthew floats to the top of the Kosho pool, that means I'm an invoker. That's weird.
Dunkable Matthew. Brendan's net ability works like this. If there's a Matthew nearby, they will be dunked. Man.
Finally, I can become a doctor.
That's how it works.
Yeah. All right.
Are you reading this last one?
Yeah, I am.
The entirety of it?
Look,
Okay.
we got so many good questions. Thank you, everyone that sent in questions. There are a bunch more that we didn't read, either because they had duplicate questions or they were just well wishes, just like, hey, thanks for the show. Hey, what are you making next? We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And we are going to make something else. We just don't know what yet. But we will.
Yep.
But I've got to say, you've got a good thing going when you get a question like this one. This is a high grade. This is an S rank question. This is exactly the sort of thing I want people to ask when I put out a call for questions.
This is a double Star Hunter question.
Hi, Guz and Brendan. I want to say at the top that I have neither watched The Prisoner nor listened to your show. When I saw that you were soliciting questions for your final episode, I decided I need to at least try to make my mark in the Prisoner's Dilemma history. I hope that my ignorance and the fact that my question is mostly explaining an unrelated piece of media before tying back to your Prisoner at the end will be funny. In 2006, Australian teen drama H2O, Just Add Water.
Jesus.
3 girls find themselves blessed/curse with the uncontrollable ability to transform into mermaids whenever they come into contact with water, only returning to their original forms when they have dried off. They also each gain a unique Nen ability to manipulate water. More on that in a second.
It doesn't say Nen, readers.
Much like werewolves, the full moon has a strange effect on these mermaids. It can temporarily alter their minds and mermaid abilities. Mm-hmm. Throughout the first season, we get an episode showing each girl affected by the full moon one at a time, and each time it inverts a core flaw in their personality. Mm-hmm. The organized and rigid Emma, whose power is cooling and freezing water, becomes totally uninhibited, causing her to eat lots of fish, kiss a boy, and ruin her father's birthday party.
No!
The insecure Cleo, whose power is hydrokinesis, temporarily gains the ability to enthrall boys her age through song and a belief that anyone who doesn't support her singing endeavors is just jealous. And finally, Ricky, whose power is heating and boiling water, who normally makes comments about others without regard for how it'll affect them, finds that her power is going out of control and setting fires, which fills her with a drive to self-isolate for the protection of others. So, my questions are, what would Magoon's unique mermaid power be? Would being a mermaid have made it easier for him to make it through the many ordeals I assume he faced in The Prisoner? What ironic inversion of his personality would the full moon cause? All the best, Maggie. Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you so much,
this is
Maggie.
exactly the sort of thing that I wanted to answer.
I'm so glad this is our last question as well.
What do you think,
I guess I have to go?
Yeah. Yeah, you know the rules.
Unique mermaid power related to water? It's very simple, Brendan. We talked about the religious readings of The Prisoner all the time. Here's what it would be. Magoon's mermaid, number 6 mermaid, he can turn any liquid into water.
Wow.
He's an opposite Jesus. Any wine you got? No problem, buddy. That's water now.
It'd be a shame if this whiskey was non-alcoholic.
It's a shame if this whiskey was just water again.
It's a miracle. I didn't want to drink this anyway.
This tastes horrible.
Now, would this have made it easier for him to make it through the many ordeals he faced in The Prisoner?
Wait, you're not going to answer?
No, I'm giving you all 3 questions first.
I see. I have to do all 3. Okay.
Yeah, of course. Of course I'm going to answer.
I mean, given the number of times that he has to swim for it in the series, I think that being able to transform into a merman would help a lot.
See, when you started making the Jesus comparison, I thought you were going to say he could walk on water, which means he could just run away over top of the waves.
That would also work, yeah.
Although that would make it much harder for him to dodge assault rifle fire.
No, they're not very good at shooting him anyway.
They're not. They're not.
He didn't have to jump out of the boat. Mm-hmm. He never had to jump out of the boat to escape Rover either. He just wanted to.
Just wanted to play with his dog.
Get me in that big wet ocean. I need to be a merman.
I gotta get wet.
No.
What ironic inversion of his personality would the full moon cause?
Ironic inversion. I think that he would just turn into like the sweetest boy that he turns into in like, Once Upon a Time, right? Just like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, whatever you say.
Can I have a job,
Whatever you say,
please?
Dad. Can I please have a job?
I'm good with
Please,
numbers.
Mr. Number 2. How about you? What do you think?
Gosh. Does it need to... they can... Okay, I had misread... I had thought maybe a little bit too much about mermaid powers, and I wasn't
Sure.
dialed in on manipulate water powers. So give me a second on that.
Sure.
Kind of taken all the good ones already.
Sorry.
Maybe he's got okay. We bring it back to your Nin ability for him, and he's got a Sailor Mercury bubble generation thing that allows him to generate and direct rovers. So you can basically like he could have one big bubble or you could have a bunch of little bubbles depending on the circumstance. You can do all kinds of stuff with those.
Yeah. His mermaid ability, bubble, Doyle in trouble.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You know, use it to get up, bounce to a higher platform.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah, a bubble.
Are you doing The Prisoner, but it's a video game again in this answer?
No.
Is it a platformer now?
I'm answering the question. Obviously, if you have the power to make a bubble, you could jump on the bubble and use it to vault you to a great height.
Of course, obviously. I'm sorry for even asking.
And that would have made it easier for him to make it through the many ordeals he faced in The Prisoner. There's so many times where he needed to vault to a great height. Or go even faster, so he puts little bubbles on his feet and they spin like wheels.
The prisoner, if he had Heelys.
Yeah. Now the show is good.
Is it?
What ironic inversion of his personality would the full moon cause? What's number 6's personality? He's stoic.
Yep. Stubborn.
Oh, he'd be super flirty.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Wait.
He'd be very bubbly.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Nice tying it together.
Thank you.
Would he become sort of a Johnny Bravo type? Or is he more like a Casanova?
Yes.
Oh, both. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey there, little mama. I don't use any guns, but you want tickets for the gum show? Hoo-ha!
Oh, he's so strong. Go on, get back.
His power level. It's over 6.
Wow. No, it is 6.
Oh, sorry. I read the scanner wrong.
Go on. I don't know how to read.
I was born out of an egg, and I never went to school. I'm really embarrassed. Please don't tell your dad.
Goku never went to school.
No, Goku does not know how to read.
No. All right, hang on. Can Goku read? Yes, Goku can read.
Oh,
Great, good. Oh,
Thanks, Google.
I guess he passes a written exam in one of the tournament arcs.
Oh, right. He does have to pass a written exam.
Yeah.
But he could have just cheated.
Goku would never cheat.
I mean, maybe he used his,
The idea of Goku cheating is even less comprehensible than the idea of Goku being able to read. Welcome to Can Goku Read, our new podcast.
Finally.
No one's been brave enough to talk about Dragon Ball on the internet before.
What was that Giant Bomb Goku podcast?
All Systems Goku.
All Systems Goku. Oh, man. Rest in peace.
Yep. Gone too soon.
Gone too soon. I'm saluting. We made it. We did it. We got through all our questions.
We got through all of our questions.
We turned them alchemy-like into wisdom. Like the Chilean miners.
I don't think that's what the miners did.
I don't know.
Thank you so much to everyone that wrote in. Thank you also to Cy F. Sweetman, who created the fantastic art for our show. Find his work and more at cyfsweetman.car.co. Thank you to Devin Nelson, who created the fantastic theme song for our show.
lots of positive, comments about the theme song in the emails.
Yeah, it's good. Find it and more, both regular music and podcast type music.
The genres.
Yeah, not just regular music, not just good music, but also that special subcategory of podcast music that you're allowed to like, even though it's not real music. At devindecibel.bandcamp.com.
This isn't your dad's podcast music.
What's weird is I say all of that every time, but I've edited it for length every other episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
What you don't know is that after Brendan finishes the edit where he adds his own words, I edit it again and I delete half his words.
We've actually been talking a lot about Piccolo for the past several months. This is just the first time you're hearing it.
Yeah.
Matthew, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on the internet at Matthew Guz on Blue Sky. How about you, Brendan?
You can find me on the internet at brendanmcleod.com on Blue Sky. You can find my blog at brendanmcleod.dev. If somehow you've made it this far and you don't know where our podcast is, well, you can find it at the-prisoners-dilemma.com or wherever fine podcasts are sold. Matthew, until next time, I'll be seeing you.
Not if I see you first.